We talk about this quite often, and that is the difference between a real sport and a fake sport. And I had a few other examples because my wife and I were talking about this over the weekend. Good morning, by the way. It's Jeff and Jeremy. You're home for the $1,000 free-for-all. We're giving away $1,000 this month.
Shuffleboard? A sport?
Shuffleboard.
Is it?
Well, I was thinking about playing cards.
That's not a sport.
Poker.
No.
Is poker a sport? It's on TV.
It's on
There's
sports
a winner
channels.
and a loser.
It's on sports
There
channels.
is a winner and a loser.
That's a competition.
So that's a competition. So a competition has a winner and a loser.
Mm-hmm.
What does a sport have to make it a sport?
I think physical activity.
Swimming.
Yeah, swimming is definitely
That is a sport.
Yeah.
Now, swimming is done on time, right? It's a race.
Mm-hmm.
There's no judges involved. See, if there's judges involved, that's a competition. I'm sorry, even if there's a winner and a loser.
That's how I feel.
Even if there's physical
So gymnastics then is
cheerleading,
not gymnastics is not a sport.
Yeah, that's a competition. And they say that. When they say, oh, we're going to a competition, when I was in wrestling.
You don't say you're going to a gymnastics duel.
Yeah, so here's the difference. Gymnastics and wrestling are actually very similar. They take places on mats, they're in gyms. It's physical with your body and you're moving around. But there's definitely a difference and there's a winner and a loser.
Because there's certain
physical.
points. I don't know how wrestling is scored because it's the most boring sport to watch in the world. But there is definitely.
Well, not if you understood it. I think you would find it
from what I understand of the sport, there are points assessed to certain maneuvers.
Yeah,
right?
if you're all like if you're wrestling and you're all caught up with each other and one person breaks away, that's usually
and
1
the referee will assign the points.
Yeah, he'll put up 1 point
to the scorekeeper.
That's an escape.
Okay,
and then you have a near fall, which is if you get the guy's shoulders near the mat, and they're not on the mat, but maybe one of them's on the mat. That's a near fall. That's a 2-pointer. And then a pin is obviously the end of the match, and it's over. I mean, that's and there's other ways to score a few other points as well. But that's the difference between gymnastics and wrestling, which I consider to be a sport, and gymnastics I don't. I agree with you.
You know what seems like a very physical activity? The referee in a wrestling match.
Yeah, they're running around,
and
jumping up and down.
onto the ground to see if the shoulder's down, and then they're popping back up. I only know this from watching Vision Quest. Okay, I've never watched a wrestling match in my life, but Vision Quest, I mean, that referee's moving around all over.
No, that happens. And depending on the type of wrestling you're doing, freestyle wrestling is you just have to have both shoulders touch the mat at the same time, and the match is over. Regular wrestling, I forget Roman, Greco, whatever, you have to actually hold the shoulders down for 3 seconds, and that's why you see his arm go out like this.
Mm-hmm.
He's doing this because it's near. And then it goes 1, 2, 3, pin. Ooh, that gave me goosebumps.
Why?
Because I wrestled for 17 years. I just had a flashback. Wrestling is something I walked away from in high school. I was injured, and I never thought about it again. So that was a long time ago. That was fun. Want to wrestle?
Never.
Skateboarding. Competition or sport?
I don't know. I don't know how it's judged because
so gymnastics.
Is it like wrestling? Do you get certain points for certain maneuvers, like a set amount of points for certain maneuvers? If that's the case, then it's a sport, just like wrestling is.
Okay.
But then there's degree of difficulty when that comes into play. I think that's like okay, that's judged.
See, I think skateboarding is the sport too.
There can be biases that whenever
it's a race. Anything
whenever
that's a race is
bias can be introduced, I don't consider it a sport.
Yeah.
More of an exhibition because the bias, like let's say in gymnastics, let's take that because it's probably the most popular as the prime example. Let's say Simone Biles pissed off a judge sometime, by saying that the judge was crappy, but then that judge shows up to do her next competition. How could that bias where she called him out?
That can happen with the referee, though.
Not come into
soccer,
effect.
For example. Let's say you cuss somebody out for giving you a red or a yellow card, and then he remembers you, and now he's looking for.
But the visual is there for everybody to see, and they can call you out. Whereas it's so technical with gymnastics that the layman does not know.
So we've covered gymnastics, cheerleading, skateboarding. We agree. Obviously, race car is racing as a sport.
First one across the finish line wins. I mean, it's very easy for you to process that. It's an easy sport to follow.
Here's a sport. There's a winner and a loser. There's no judge. There is technique, and there's different ways you can score points. Cornhole, sport or competition?
I think it's a sport. You're doing a physical activity.
You can let us know, 805-543-3693. There's probably other ones you could come up with, but those are the ones I came up with. 805-543-3693. Shuffleboard, pool. I mean, we're kind of in the same category here, right?
Well, pool, I think.
I don't think that's a sport.
There's points that are kept?
Yeah, there's points, and there's a winner and a loser, but it's competition, just like
you
darts.
Can smoke,
darts is not
You
a
can
sport.
smoke and drink while doing it, though. That's the problem.
That's a competition.
Golf is the same thing, though. Golf's definitely a sport.
805-543-3693, the 805 beer lines. Get yourself an 805 and live the 805 lifestyle. Go to 805beer.com.
Subscribe to the Jeff and Jeremy podcast now on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, and YouTube. It's your Central Coast commute-friendly podcast.